tried to pay forward was that. So when you said that, like you're able to put yourself in those songs. That's really all I've ever hoped to achieve. Not so much to put myself in those songs. I want to put other people in those songs and let them be the star of it, not me.
Got it.
And I feel like that's, if it's anything, that's how people respond to the music. It's about them. It has nothing to do with me up there. I'm just a vessel.
Yeah. No, I think there's a lot of guys that are trying to feel. I think especially for a lot of young men, it's been like, there's a lot of feeling and processing that we've missed somehow, or we haven't found a way to do it. I think it's the same thing that I noticed with some of Red Clay Stray's music, and it's different. You guys' stuff is totally different. But if you go to their show, they're great. Their show, it's a lot of men, probably like kind of adult men who are trying to find ways to process stuff. Yeah. That's what I believe anyway. And it's interesting to see that. It's interesting to see, like, where do we go to process stuff and how do we do it? And I think your music does a lot of that for people. Yeah, and that's why I was saying that. Yeah, it would be hard for you to write for somebody, which makes it a little bit tougher to have a career in some ways, because you don't have, like, you're you, and you can write some songs but man, your stuff is so personal. It feels like to your brain and perspective and attitude that it'd be hard for a regular foot to fit into it. You know?
Yeah, that was the challenge. You know, like there's this sounds so much like you. That was
right.
And but at the same time,
it hurts at the time because you're like, well, fuck, I'm just trying to do this. Yeah. But then in the end, it's like, oh well, I'm the instrument. Yeah. And that just takes, and then that's a gift that you are, because if you'd have found this other avenue that was for songwriting, and I know you've had some success in it, but if you found this other avenue that was hugely successful, then you may not have continued to nurture, or the energy may not have been on the seed that was you. You know, the sunlight might have not focused on you to keep that growing.
Honestly, if my dad was still alive, I mean, none of this would have happened. I mean, really, if I'd probably be just writing songs, trying to get cuts, and probably still failing at it. And
your dad would be selling merch for you. It'd be nice, though.
Yeah, he would. He would still be there with his giant phone, probably recording every bit of it, proud as hell.
Man, I was just thinking about my dad. So my dad was very old when I was born, and so I remember, like, I was ashamed of my dad, so I had a lot of shame about him. You know, but I grew up in a lot of fear too in our household. Like, my sister was real sick, and so I was always scared that she was going to pass away. And then my dad was old, so he was in his 70s when I got to know him, and so I was always afraid he was going to pass away. So it was like this constant thing of, like, it just felt like somebody was just going to dang die, Yeah. So it made everything kind of dour. Yeah. I think, or I don't know, it made it like the perspective was dim. That's what it was. And my brother would mess with me. He'd come in the room and he'd be like, dude, Dad's dead. And I'm like, what? He'd be like, go in there, dude. Go in there right now. And my dad would fall asleep all the time because he was like 76 or 77. And those people like to sleep a decent amount during the day. And I don't know if he'd be asleep or he'd just be laying there with his eyes closed. You know what I'm saying? A lot of old people are like, I'm awake, I'm at work. They're fucking, I'm married, they're not forgetting the things that are important, But I would go up and I would have to go, like, and he would be alive. And I would be like, fuck you, you're full of shit. So then it got to this weird part where my brother would come in the room and he'd be like, dude, Dad's dead. And I'm like, dude, he better be dead when I go in there, or I'm going to beat your ass. So it became, and it flipped this whole perspective of, like, what was normal in the world. So my friends would be like, dude, what do you mean he better be dead? Are you going to fight your brother? Like, like, no, he does this all the time, dude. He's not freaking dead.
You were like, I don't know, you were combating the dark arts with other dark arts.
Yeah, like, or my mom would be like, go spend time with your dad because he's probably going to die soon. He'd be like, all right, and shit like that. But she was just doing this to get us out of the room so she could tidy up or something, some trick. Wow. But it was just weird shit, And it was true too. He probably was going to die soon. So I was like, well, get in there and spend some time with him, or draw a picture of him. We probably have like 70 pictures of him we drew with crayons. But if she'd like, go in there and draw a picture of him, you're going to want it, and they have horrible pictures, And sometimes he'd be drawn like as a black guy, just like, just like because it would seem more exciting or whatever. But
were you quiet as a kid?
No, I don't think that I was. I think I was like kind of curious.
Yeah.
And I like to make excitement somehow. Like I like to create ambiance for things. But I think I was probably, I don't know, my mom says she didn't tend to me that much because it seemed like I was doing fine.
Yeah.
So she didn't think I needed like a lot of attention because she felt like I was doing okay, because we've had like some conversations about that stuff. But yeah, I think that was a big regret I had, was that I had like a lot of shame about my dad's age. And so I didn't even embrace him really that much, because I was ashamed of it.
Wow.
But it's just, life's just harrowing like that.
You and I had like polar opposite dads. My dad was like a baby, and I was like I guess I was kind of, I wouldn't say they were just kind of totally different perspectives to think about. Like my dad was like a child, like honestly like a big brother.
Really?
In a lot of ways, because he was only 18 years older than me.
Oh yeah, that's pretty normal.
I mean, I was like, there's actually siblings out there that are like 15 years older than their siblings,
Yeah.
And, so yeah, I mean that had to be tough. I find that people that are, that's why I asked, people that are I spent my whole childhood in a state of fear of loss, fear of losing someone
really
unlosable at that time. Like,
what would make that happen? It is such a, because your mom being gone?
My mom. Yeah. I was like losing her was not like something I was willing to bear, but it seemed like it was
inevitable
and like something that was like just around the corner too. So like it made me like retreat as a kid. It made me like really quiet and observe everything.
You got to make sure everything's okay.
Yeah. God, and keep my mouth shut, because like I didn't want to say something or,
that could cost me her.
Yeah, it could cost me her, or, I didn't want to draw attention to it or speak anything into existence about it. And I didn't want anybody to know about it either. So it was like my own little thing.
Yeah,
and my dad didn't know about a lot of what she was going through with her other husbands. Like that was something that I knew about. Yeah. And that was a tough secret to carry, because, it was, he wouldn't have wanted me around that. And God knows what he would have done to those dudes. And he probably would have killed them or something. And so I was always worried. I was always trying to protect my dad from himself, and I was trying to protect my mom from herself. It made me grow up real quick. And I bet your dad's situation probably made you grow up quicker.
Well, it makes you aware. That's the thing.
Yeah.
The worst thing to be as a young kid in some ways
is aware.
It's just so aware, because then you're living on this different timeline. Yeah, you're living on this other thing.
It's good to be oblivious in those years, like and really ignorant to like the pain and the magnitude of that is the weight of loss. As a kid, like we insulate and protect children from that.
Yes,
we don't even bring them to funerals because we don't want them to see the. But that's something my dad, I gotta say, I could give him a lot of credit, because I've seen people die from a young age, from grandparents to family members. Like he would bring me to funerals, probably because he couldn't find a babysitter. Like, what's he gonna do? Like get a babysitter or have us wait in the car? He's like, no, you're gonna come and look at this dead body. You're gonna see this dead person, because one day it could be me. And
my dad would drop us off at funerals in our town if there was in order to get time away from. He dropped me off at 2 funerals in our town that I didn't know anybody at. And he would leave us at Burger King for 8 hours like they were a babysitter. He had no, I'm like, and every time we'd be like, Dad, they do not want us there anymore. Like we ate like 11 French toast sticks that people gave us. Yeah. And they don't even have a play place. He enjoyed the play place. And he'd be like, it's the wrong one. Burger King doesn't have it, dude.
They don't have it everywhere.
No. So this lady named Miss Wanda, she was always like the lady that would take care of us in there. And we would just drink those syrups when people left them in there. But we'd be at the fucking Burger King for like 8 hours talking to people, me and my sisters, and it would just be bizarre. But you'd end up in bizarre shit like that, My dad he'd be like, drive me over to the post office, because I was kind of tall. when I was 10 or 11, maybe 12. So I'd drive him over there, but I didn't have a driver's license or anything. And there'd be no parking spots. He'd be like, well, just do a couple laps around the block while I'm in here. And I'd be like, and there was this huge Cutlass, this Delta 88. And so I was like, I can't drive this bitch. And it didn't have power steering. Dude,